I think it's something that's made it a favorable environment. Because a lot of our contacts, we're going beyond CRs, we're going beyond country managers, and we're trying to create more of a horizontal discussion. So our regional sales manager will meet with sales supervisors as opposed to the sales manager, because they're out in the field and they're the ones that are getting the contact, they're the ones implementing the strategy. So they feel like more part of it, and we're getting more information about what's happening on the ground. Something that was happening before, for example, with the regional sales strategy. Our manager would get a message and say, okay, we're done, it's great, everyone's okay with it, send it out to everyone. So what we would do is we had our contact people, which was usually the country manager or the country rep, we'd send it to them and assume that they would send it out or share it in the appropriate way with their team. But a lot of the information was sort of getting stuck at the top. It wouldn't trickle down. And people didn't feel that kind of ownership to a lot of the tools that we were trying to develop to improve their day-to-day or things that would help them with sales, for example, in their country. So I think the fact that it's in Spanish is something that makes it work. People feel comfortable in their own language, they can discuss, sometimes it's just breaking the ice and feeling like you can even make a joke or feel like you're among friends in a sort of setting. Another thing that helps is the fact that we're all in similar time zones. So we're not trying to sort of catch people who are 7 hours later or 7 hours earlier and trying to coordinate, so people feel a little more connected. Not necessarily the case in my working group, which is PR. We have someone from PSI Europe, and she's been really fantastic about joining our team despite the time. I think it's 7 p.m. for her, and we're meeting around 10 a.m. Every Tuesday, every second Tuesday of every month. And we've got great tools. I personally use Skype. I know that's not ideal for everyone, but something that I like about Skype is that it almost feels like we're all in the same room, just talking and feel comfortable. And anyone can jump in and say, hey, I think that's a great idea, or I tried something like that, or it's just being able to say that spontaneously. We also have tools like Illuminate. I know admin and finance uses Illuminate, and it works for them. You pass the microphone on, and everyone gets a turn. There's no sort of overlap or awkward, silence or space, which Skype might do sometimes. And I think in the end, what's been key for us is selecting the right contact person in each country. I think that's really helped us a lot, because we're finally sort of creating more, getting people to talk to each other on a horizontal level. Maybe the sales supervisors in each country weren't talking to each other before, and they weren't able to say, hey, did that work for you? Or, I think it's really great what you're doing. I'd like to do something similar. Can you send me over, or can we talk afterwards and maybe talk about what you're doing and see what worked in your country that maybe I hadn't talked to that person before? And I think that wasn't happening. It also takes a load off of CRs and CMs, who in our region in particular, in Central America, they're just the load. They get the entire load. They're the people in charge of getting everything done. So taking some of that weight off of them and being able to talk to other people within their platforms has helped us a lot as well. And I'd like to just let Lina maybe say something. We were talking a little bit about communication, the way it was flowing before, and maybe how it's worked now with the working group at Admin Finance.
So my name is Lina. I'm the FA for Latin America and the Caribbean. So beginning 2010, we decided to start with this initiative of meeting on a regular basis with all of our finance staff. And I have a counterpart. So because PASMO is kind of a mini headquarters for the region, and we are kind of a big headquarter, I have a finance counterpart, and together we've organized many meetings with all of the finance, the directors of admin and finance in the region. And we have a group of about 10 to 12 people, so one for each country. Sometimes we even have finance managers, which are reporting directly under the finance director. So we have a pretty big group, and it's a big variety, and we all speak Spanish. It's all the same language, same time zone more or less. And in the beginning, at the beginning of the year, we started the conversation with having them talk about their accomplishments, things that they were really proud of, and then after that we also talked about things that they see that need to be improved. And from my perspective, that was really useful, because we conduct a lot of communications through emails, but seeing that everybody had the same recurring theme about either reporting or things that we're always asking for them in terms of audit and the kind of difficulties that they have at their level. It's very, very useful for us to get this kind of feedback and for them to understand that they have the same problems and that we're doing something about it. Once we hear it, we take their request and we share with everyone. We make sure that we can solve their problems. And at the same time, it's nice for them that they showcase best practices so that they can each learn from each other the same way the other working groups have. So after the first quarter, like in about April, we started a conversation about our finance manual, and this has been really interesting. We just started on this. We've had a finance manual for a while, and the finance manual was not including, it's not very inclusive. It doesn't include local laws or regulations to the extent that it should, and it has very outdated policies where PSI used to do different projects, or things have changed a lot. So we decided to take the previous finance manual and try to update it with how each country saw it. And this has very important repercussions because first, people feel ownership to the manual, and it's easier for them to comply to the manual if it's not something imposed, it's something that is created from the ground up. And second, we started identifying areas of expertise. We know this person in Dominican Republic handles taxes perfectly, so we decided, okay, you try to talk to everyone else about their tax situation and figure out what information to gather. And we identified people in Nicaragua, and we said, you have huge sub-awards. How do you manage these kind of relationships? Get together with this other person that